Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. We have a special webinar today. We're going to explore the area of business analytics, an incredibly hot field, and a new entry into the market with an online degree in business analytics from the Simon Business School in Rochester. And to talk about the whole trend of why business analytics is so hot, and this new program, we have several special guests. One I'm really delighted to see again. I met her at Carnegie Mellon a number of years ago, and she's a dynamo. The dean of the Simon Business School, Sevin Yeltekin, welcome. And we have with us Michael Lovett. Sorry, it's actually going to be Mitch Lovett, right?
That's right.
That's right, Mitch Lovett. Who's going to get into the details about the program itself. You know, as you know, this has really become incredibly hot in part because businesses have access to vast data sets of information, and getting people who can put their arms around this and harness that information into decision making has become a major priority for one company after another. Mm-hmm. So, Sevin, let me ask you, how is this impacting higher education? Because obviously the need is there in corporate America and corporations all over the world. But what about the impact on higher ed?
Well, I mean, this trend, this impact isn't really a surprise to Simon, to be perfectly honest. As a quantitatively driven school, data drives our decisions internally, and it's the way we've been preparing our students for professional success for a while now. Simon has had a portfolio of master's programs in analytics, heavily in finance, business analytics, and marketing in full-time programs for over a decade in some cases. We were very well aware of these emerging trends in business and have responded to this very need very effectively. You know, the strong STEM analytics heavy reputation Simon has had led us to partner with corporations, and we speak to them very often, you know, through these partnerships, whether we talk to them as sort of collaborators, as recruiters, as our alumni leaders. We know what companies are looking for and the talent that they're looking to recruit. And, you know, they want people, they want leaders who can use data effectively to make informed decisions in areas that span everything from pricing to governance to tech, consulting, finance, marketing, just to name a few. So, you know, companies such as Dell, Amazon, Microsoft, Citi, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Google, you know, actively recruit our students because the demand for this type of talent and skill combination is continuing to rise, and these companies are you know, competing to recruit the best talent in that area. And our job is to attract and train talent as business educators, and that's what we've been doing for a while. And we're really excited about this new program, adding yet another layer onto that.
And this is your first online degree program. Obviously, you've done online education before, and you include some of that in your executive MBA. And of course, during the pandemic, everyone was disrupted and essentially went to remote instruction. But I'm sure that these bigger trends in companies with all these big data sets and the need to harness that information into decision-making led you to introduce this new online MS in business analytics. Am I right?
Absolutely. I think you get quite a few things when you do take an online program. One of the first things is that you don't need to interrupt your career. I know that that's a big consideration, especially for those folks who have worked very hard to come to a particular stage in their career, and an interruption may not be desirable, both for professional reasons as well as personal reasons. You might have a family, that, you know, relocation is costly at the same time. And folks also want to learn new skills and apply them immediately learn it the night before and apply them immediately to add value and impact to their organizations. And continuing to be in business while you take the degree gives you a really nice context in which to evaluate what you're learning and how to map it to the types of questions, the types of hurdles, the types of issues that you're facing in your organization. So it's both a flexibility and access. It's at the same time really a nice way to be able to kind of have the theory of business and the education of business meet the practice of business. So that's where we're really trying to find that right spot.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the flexibility is so key today, because here's something that even if you're a road warrior, right, and your job requires a fair bit of travel, even during this pandemic, an online program allows you to get your education, learn new skills, even if you're not in one place.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that, that's now the nature of business. You need to learn how to manage teams that are in different geographic locations, that are in different areas, engage people through this particular medium. And another thing that taking an online class and having a cohort of students that you have team members and faculty and staff that you interact with is that you learn those skills. You learn how to manage this new medium more effectively. So there are really multiple layers of sort of skill enhancement that comes through taking a program like this.
And let's be specific, like what skills do you believe future leaders need?
Mm-hmm. To put it very concisely, it's what I call a bilingual skill, a balance between strong leadership management and technical understanding. When you first start up at an entry level, you might be the person in the background doing a lot of the analysis, right? But as you move up in an organization and as you move up in your career, you need to sort of have a very good understanding of how to translate that analysis now into meaningful strategic business decisions. So you need to be able to define the question. You need to direct your team to collect the right data and apply the right type of analysis to it. You need to be aware of the shortcomings of the analysis and the data tools. They're not perfect by any means. We need to get away from the kind of the black box, push a button tool mindset to really knowing and understanding what those analyses and what that data really provides for you, and know how to put it to a stress test. Ask the right questions. Then you need to take that information, translate it into informed decisions, and then you have to consider lots of things. How are your competitors going to, react? What is the changing business, regulatory, policy, environment, and landscape? What are your short-term and long-term goals as an organization? What are the resources available to you? Then you have to define an execution plan after you've made the decision. And even that execution plan has analytics in it, because you need to be able to collect data and measure your success and progress against the goal that you had set. And in the meantime, you need to, be aware of the risks, assess risks continuously, mitigate those risks, be able to converse and certainly communicate all of those. So it's a communication, leadership, management, foundational sort of market and economics knowledge combined with a technical knowledge. And that's the sort of the, set of skills that a lot of companies are looking for, big and small, national and regional. And
yeah, so what I love about that is that you've created the program that includes and addresses all these needs.
Yes.
Now, Mitch, you're the Senior Associate Dean of Education and Innovation. You had a hand in creating this program. Let's talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. So,
what can someone expect?
Yeah. So, going back to the program from the beginning, this was designed for managers. So I think that's really important. As Sevin was explaining, having that flexibility. But also, these are people with experience. They have something to bring to the table in the conversation. And so, although we're building skills and building tools, it's also about bringing that cohort together, bonding them for that networking opportunity. And so they have a lifelong connection to these individuals in their program. The curriculum itself builds on that bonding and bonds them into the instructional team. The courses start off, we orient them and get them into team building and connecting them into those teams right from the beginning, and thinking about the analytics. So how do you think about teams with analytics? Not just teams, but teams with analytics, and analytics teams for that matter, that are actually working on analytics projects potentially. So the coursework transitions into tools, but we don't just give them tools. You know, they learn the machine learning and the regression, the statistics, the AI types of tools that you need to know in the current modern environment. But really the focus is on applying those tools. So taking them and putting them into the context of the business environment they're already in. So direct deliverables to you know, what they can do every day while in the program. So you've got the tools, but the analytics design, this sort of disciplined approach that we've been working on at Simon of how to apply the analytics, think about the questions, how to think about you know, communicating afterwards, and implementing the organization, transforming the organization, measuring the impact to make sure that you can then cycle back to doing the next round of action. So the courses include the tools, but that analytics design as well. And then we also incorporate the communications, the leadership, and it's integrated right into the program. Right from the beginning, when we designed this program, we thought we don't want just a, you know, a course on management communications. We want it built all the way through what we're doing here. And so it pulls in to the classrooms, you know, the tools, the, you know, the analytics design, communication, all connected together.
Yeah.
And we build all the way into the strategy. So the kind of questions that, you know, ask, how does an organization make analytics work for it? How do you generate more value, not just in the implementation of a particular analytics, but as an organization? What's the data requirements you need? How do you, you know, architect all of that to form an organization that can generate more value than you could without the analytics? And it includes thinking about, you know, questions that are going to, you know, haunt managers if they aren't aware of what's going on, the privacy issues, the security issues, all the different kinds of policy, the ethical components, and bringing different lenses to those questions. We are known for economics, but we bring other lenses too in this program to make sure that we leverage all of the different perspectives that will help the managers as they are working on, you know, integrating analytics into their organizations. So this whole thing from the ground up was built in order to transform or level up managers to become the analytics and data-driven leaders of their organizations.
And you think the ideal person for this program is someone who's already dealing with business analytics? Or is it someone who wants to prepare for the likelihood that increasingly this is going to become part of their job?
I would say, you know, neither, you know, we don't have to exclude either of those populations. Both are relevant for this program. If you have some experience in analytics, we're going to push that up, you know, even further, and we're going to incorporate all these other leadership components that will help you in the management side, the leadership side, that connect all the pieces together. If you're, you know, someone who hasn't had as much experience, we're going to, you know, build up the foundations and help you understand how to apply these tools, introduce them, and again, connect it to probably the experiences you had on the business and management side.
Now, will people get the chance to actually work on a challenge that they're currently dealing with at work and bring it into the classroom?
Absolutely. The program is oriented around experiences. And so you'll have experiences throughout, but at the end of the program, you'll have the opportunity to do a project. We'll provide company-oriented projects, but if, you know, a participant wanted to bring something from their own corporation to directly have, oh, this is the project I can deliver value on for my corporation, we will actually have a course where they'll help design and organize that to ensure the confidentiality and still enable sort of a process to deliver that kind of project and experience for the participants.
That's one of the nice things about the cohort model too, because you can bring in, you realize that even folks in other industries face sort of similar types of problems, face similar types of issues, and are trying to resolve similar problems. And that gives you an opportunity to talk to those other types of rising managers or managers to realize, you know, what are some of the practices we can all employ and learn from each other. And that's why the cohort model is also important, because now we're not just learning from the program, we're learning from each other.
Yeah, and that's really the beauty of bringing together highly qualified, thoughtful leaders who are ambitious and smart and really want to increase their depth in this field. There's a lot of sharing that goes on and a lot of learning that comes from that. Now, I'm imagining that a number of would-be candidates might think about a targeted program like this in comparison to a part-time MBA. Why should they go with the business analytics degree over an MBA? Sevin?
Yes, I mean, of course, we would expect folks who are at this level in their career to have and make, again, an informed decision about what kind of, skill sets that they need to be able to have an impact on their organization. I think those two things do not necessarily exclude one another. We've seen in the past folks with MBAs and realizing that they need a little bit more depth and a little bit more specialization in the analytics area to come back to get a degree like this. So we would not be surprised to see those folks who have either an undergraduate business degree or an MBA already. And because part of it is not just about sort of the types of degree programs, but these tools and these sort of, lenses that Mitch has talked about, these different ways of sort of learning and different skills, these evolve over time too. If you graduated about 10 years ago from an MBA program, some of these analytical tools and analytical kind of classes may not have been even on the roster, may not have been available. Right. So this is an opportunity for you to come back and think about, what are some of the newest kind of approaches and frameworks and thinking on these different kind of business issues that I can learn from it. So I can see a sort of a student base that already has that MBA experience. And for those who are deciding between the two programs, I never like to, education is lifelong. You should really think about whether you would benefit from having a more sort of general management education that hits on marketing, accounting, organizational behavior, finance, and all of those areas, and gives you that sort of breadth in terms of the business education, or are you already sort of in a particular track and path that you are quite successful in and that you're enjoying, but there needs to be a little bit more depth to that functional area as far as your skill sets are concerned, so that you can have opportunities for advancement and at the same time immediately add value. So really, it should be a good match. It should be a good fit. Both of those are great options, but it depends a lot on your background, and it depends on what goals you're trying to achieve with this educational opportunity.
Right. Now, a lot of specialty master's programs are pre-experienced, meaning that you can go directly from your undergraduate education into them. Here, you're looking for more experienced managers. How much experience, Mitch?
The orientation is 3 to 15 years. So that's kind of the, it's a wide range, but it depends on the nature of experience. We're looking for people who have had some experience engaging in problems. So when they're having the questions and discussion within their teams, that they can bring that experience to the table and think about how the tools are applied in the context of the kind of experiences they've had. So we can think about, how could you make that decision differently? How could you level up that decision with the use of analytics, as opposed to trying to bring the examples all from the side of the instruction.
Right. And I know that there are a number of other programs that exist in this area because there's been tremendous growth in it. So Mitch, I wonder how you're differentiating this particular deep dive into business analytics and what makes it unique or unusual.
Yeah, so the number one thing is it's from the ground up built for managers. And I talked about a number of these elements already. So, not just focusing on tools, which are great. We do provide a lot of tools and a lot of the technical pieces and software, training in the program, but that's not enough. Really orienting it around the analytics design, that process of connecting it to the application, connecting the communications process into the analytics, and thinking about how you cycle back to the overall strategy components. So that's one piece. The second piece in that is really about bringing this policy perspective too. So thinking about understanding and thinking about the privacy issues and the security issues, and things like algorithmic bias and how your analytics could get you in trouble in various ways and in ways that you might not even recognize. And so knowing and understanding how to think about those questions and providing frameworks and the latest research on how all that works is part of this. And we have a seminar approach to that where we have multiple faculty interacting with students, and it's much richer than a typical classroom setting. And that's sort of the other thing I want bring back to is, we talked about it's online, that creates immediate accessibility to Simon's top 25, ranked faculty and delivery, but it also is high touch. So online, but high touch, and the high touch component about it is really important. It means experiences throughout. They're integrated into the process of the courses. It also means that project at the end, and it also means we have actual, in person 3 times short residencies during the program to help bond people together at the beginning, to continue that networking opportunity in the middle, and then push all the way at the end to close up and launch them, catapult them into their careers as they exit the program, linked to one another and helping them push forward.
In this program is how long to complete?
So this is a 14-month program. They have 12 courses to complete the program in total. So relatively short time, and we bring all of these tools and skills and leadership training in it.
And a participant would there be a weekly live internet class?
Yeah, so there's 2. So the way the program will work, each week during the term, there'll be 2 evenings that there would be some synchronous component to the courses, and then there would be asynchronous component as well in between the sessions, where they would be learning and have instructor-led information, working with their teams, various other kinds of activities. Still can be quite interactive, but not centered on the instructor and in the classroom. So it has both components in the evening as well as this sort of in-between self-paced.
And typically these kinds of programs require a commitment of 15 to 20 hours per week by the student. Is that roughly correct?
Yeah, that's around the area, 10 to 20 hours, depending on the student and their background and so forth, would be expected. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, Sevin would take 5 hours a week to do this.
I don't know about that, but the nice thing is, the nice thing is that the access to the faculty and other folks like teaching assistants who can help you answer those questions. So you're not just sort of you're not left alone if there are questions or challenges that you need to meet. That there is always this is a high touch program, as Mitch has said. You're not just a number somewhere. Everybody knows your name. Everybody knows who you are, and you have direct contact with all the your faculty, as well as any of the support mechanism that we build to be able to get that support should you need it. Because we do understand that businesses ebb and flow. They have some very intense periods when they have to make deliver reports or do other things, and we want to make sure that we are part of flexibility is being able to address some of those ebbs and flows that people see in their own organizations. So there'll be a large support mechanism built around all of the students as well, because our goal is to make them successful. That's our ultimate goal, and we take that very seriously.
And the initial cohort size, you're aiming for how many people?
So our target is to make sure we have the right mix of people in the program. So it's our main focus is making sure that networking, that cohort feel is there with the group, and the orientation is not a super large 200-person factory model. It's a small, tight-knit community that Simon is so well known for, that is behind our ability to have such high diversity rankings and all the pieces that make Simon special and small and connected to one another. The support Sevin was talking about, where we have that academic support, and they also are partners in this process with you. The faculty and the students all joining together. So we're focused on maintaining that same small feel that Simon has been known for.
Great. And Sevin, I know, as I noted before, that this is the first online degree offering from the Simon Business School. Can we anticipate others?
Absolutely. I mean, we do move with the kind of the management education market, and we leverage our expertise in various fields, from finance to accounting to marketing and analytics and supply chain and healthcare as well. And we see this sort of demand for flexibility and accessibility across the board. And we will continue to offer programs that fit the needs of business and as well as fit the needs of our students who want to have access to that education. This is our first offering, as Mitch has said, but that's our first offering designed as an online program. We do a lot of online delivery. We have a lot of experience, not just during the COVID time, but even compared to that, before that, our executive MBA program, again, with the same flexibility and accessibility in mind, because it is for working professionals. We had already moved to a pretty heavily online delivery system. We just never called it an online executive MBA program, but we do have those components. So we will continue to march on this path as long as this is what the demand and the sort of the skill sets that are needed. And this is the flexibility that's paramount right now.
Terrific. Now, we also have in the house the Assistant Dean of Admissions, Rebecca Lewin, who I think will help walk us through the application and what you're looking for in a candidate. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, John. Great to be here today. As Dean Lovett and Dean Yeltekin have mentioned, we're already starting the recruiting process for our first cohort. And the application process, similar to all of our other degree programs, is a holistic review process where we're looking at a lot of different components of each applicant as we're considering them for admission. First, we'll be taking a look at a student's professional and work history and getting a sense of both maybe some common qualities that they bring to the program, as well as some things that are unique about each candidate. We're going to be emphasizing things like professional communication skills, team skills, leadership abilities, but also academic readiness, and more specifically, looking for demonstrated quantitative abilities, given that this is a business analytics program. And so there's going to be a few different ways we're going to look at those different things in the various application components. As Dean Lovett mentioned, we are targeting a profile of candidates that have at least a few years of experience, up to individuals that would probably be characterized as mid-level managers. But also, there's not a requirement that someone comes in with specific managerial experience. So some of the earlier career candidates may be on that track, but we'll be looking for the caliber and type of work experience that they've had, and that there's conversations that they've been involved with that involve problem solving, or maybe even whether it be team decision making, or even maybe in some cases individual decision making. And also looking to get a sense of their career interests, and hopefully seeing that those match with both the academic components, as well as there are some career coaching and other supporting activities that are comparable with other part-time program offerings that we have, that will support a student not just having the academic preparation to move into a career that includes analytics, but also that they're able to move in that direction with some support from the school should they so desire. And so the components of the application process include and various online application materials, and uploading your resume, several essays, college transcripts, letter of recommendation, and then we'll in some cases expect a standardized test score, in other cases not. That's going to be an individual assessment, and it's going to be largely based on a combination of a student's professional work experience and or their academic background to determine whether or not additional data points are going to be helpful or necessary in that review process. But it's a very individualized process, and we offer a lot of hands-on support for students as they're going through the admissions process. And so we would very much welcome and encourage candidates that are interested in this program to reach out to us directly. They can either reach out to me specifically and I can point them in the right direction, or if they go to our website, there's several very prominent ways in which they can request information or set up an appointment with a member of our team to be guided through the application process, or to even have questions answered, because I think we're really focused on making sure that we're matching students with a program that's best for them, similar to what you just asked about earlier between MBA versus MS. We have several different offerings, and we want to make sure that whatever a student is pointed toward, that it's going to best fit their professional and academic needs.
And you're currently recruiting for the program that will start in August, is it?
August, yeah.
Right. Which before you know it, we'll be here.
It sure will. It'll move fast. And so there's obviously some benefits to starting the application process sooner, in the sense that you'll get an earlier decision on admission and have a little bit more time for planning and preparation. But it is a rolling application process. We realize there may be some folks that have already been thinking about this for a while, and knowing the strengths that Simon offers in STEM and analytics, are really excited that this might be an opportunity, even if they're not located in Rochester, New York. But for some candidates, they're in more of an exploratory process as they're thinking about their future plans. And so even if over the next 2 or 3 months, it's something that they'd like to start some conversations, you don't have to necessarily be to the point where you're certain that you're planning for graduate school in 2022. We would love to have a conversation.
Right. And I'm thinking that if you have quant experience in your job, or perhaps you have a degree in your past, like engineering, which is quant heavy, that you likely would waive a GMAT or GRE score. And if you don't, you might need the GMAT or GRE to gain the assurance that the person could complete the program successfully. Is that right?
That's correct. I mean, I think there's a little nuance in the sense that we might also consider a candidate that's pursuing non-degree quantitative coursework prior to business school. And so there's a few different possibilities of how we would handle it. I know we have a fair number of conversations with students about how to fit in adequately preparing for a test relative to everything else they might have going on personally and professionally. And so we do want to make sure that a student is obviously prepared and can be successful academically. And so there will be a few different ways that they can demonstrate that.
Right. Great. And Sevin, how does this fit into the portfolio of all the other master's programs that you currently offer?
It fits right in. I mean, we have a portfolio in addition to our MBA, full-time MBA program, and our part-time and executive MBA program. We have a portfolio of specialized master's programs, master's in accounting, master's in finance, and business analytics, as well as marketing analytics. And this fits squarely into our strengths and our portfolio. We have 500 analytics students, that's beside the MBA students, 500 analytics students coming into Simon every year and successfully completing our program and launching their careers. We've been doing this for a while. This is not new to us. Right. We have a lot of experience with delivering analytics very effectively, meeting the students' needs and meeting them from different backgrounds, whether they come from engineering, they come from perhaps a liberal arts degree, and exactly matching them with their career goals. So it squarely fits into our portfolio and leverages all of our faculty strengths, as well as sort of the reputation and the relationships that we've developed with industry leaders and recruiters.
Terrific. Well, congratulations on the new program. It sounds fantastic. And it's, I'm sure, I mean, you can always look at the price on the website, but we're talking in the range of what generally, Rebecca?
So the program price is just over $50,000 for both the tuition and the required fees. It would also be remiss if I didn't mention that we also will consider students for scholarship support for this program. And so that's one other motivation and reason to get your application in early.
Yeah, get it in early, because then, the treasure chest of scholarship aid is at its highest level and hasn't been dissipated. Besides, the earlier you get in, the better you can prepare for a very quick and fast start. And Mitchell, I wonder if in fact you might give advice to some people who enter the program, who get accepted. What kind of prep work would be ideal for them to have a jump start on the program?
Yeah, great question. A few things that I would suggest. Often we'll give some direction around some preparatory things, like if they want to start getting their hands into software that they might use, or some of the kinds of sort of math, remembering, if you haven't been in school for a while, remembering some of that math that you took back in college, or whatever the last time was you took a math class. So those kinds of things, just brush off some of the cobwebs and start getting ready. Those are very typical things that we recommend. And then the other thing is, getting ready to, you're going to be doing school while you're working. And so, getting your sort of mental readiness for that, so that, you take a break beforehand. You don't, are completely swamped right until the moment you start school, as well as work.
Yeah. And we can introduce you to students who are going through the similar process, and you can have conversations with sort of our academic support group, and as well as some of the faculty. So those can give you lots of opportunities. There would be lots of time to gain that opportunity. What have they done to prepare? What has worked well for them? What do they suggest? So you can really start having these conversations before you even set foot in a classroom, online or otherwise. And that really helps you, as Mitch has said, both mentally, but also sort of academically and professionally prepare and get a sense of sort of the way that the pace and sort of the workload of the program.
And I'm also thinking that given the demographic that you're aiming at, from 3 to 15 years of experience, you're going to assemble teams, and people are going to be able to rely on each other for different skills and different thoughts and different insights from different industries and companies, which is really going to greatly enrich the experience and make what is a very rigorous program, I'm sure, a little easier for the poets in the group.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a very, team management is one of the most important skills, no matter where you are, no matter what kind of company that you are in, and what kind of goals that you're trying to achieve. Being able to both rely and effectively motivate, delegate, manage a team, and be an active participant. You don't always have to lead it. How to become a valuable team member. I mean, both to lead and to follow in certain ways, and contribute in multiple dimensions, and work with people coming from different industries, coming from different backgrounds, coming with different amounts of technical expertise. These are incredibly good experiences to have, to add to your kind of technical tool set kit, because that is the nature of business right now. And then add to that a more sort of, regionally diverse, and as well as perhaps a global perspective. That's an incredibly important, both a support system and a skill building exercise for everybody to engage in. And what better way to do it than in a school where, you can test out things, and if they don't work, that's fine. You haven't sunk the company. you get to learn in a very supportive environment, and you get to kind of test the waters and be a little bit perhaps experimental, and be a little bit more daring than you would do in your own business, because the stakes are bigger there. So I think the other part of this is just encouraging folks to try out things, and to really get out of their comfort zone, and to experiment, and to take some risks, because those are really important kind of skills to have.
Absolutely. Rebecca, what's the final deadline for that August start?
So we will be accepting applications up through late June or early July. So we will accommodate some candidates who may be a little bit more just in time in terms of their planning. But as Mitch had mentioned, we do want to allow for enough time so folks can rearrange their life, both professionally and personally, to make the space needed to start graduate school.
Great. And just to define rolling admissions for everyone who may not be familiar with rolling admissions, that your team will be reading the applications as they get it and making decisions on candidates within a few weeks, right?
Exactly. Typically within 4 to 6 weeks after the application is submitted, a student will not only have their application reviewed, they'll have conducted an admissions interview, and we'll have made sure that all of the application requirements are completed, and the student will have a decision, which, again, for your own planning purposes, is super helpful, not just for the admission piece, but also for financial aid.
Great. Now, Sevin, closing words here. We know business analytics is hot. There's great demand for people with this kind of training, and great demand for the skills to harness all this data into decision-making tools. What about the future of business analytics? Is this something that's going to remain hot? Will it get even hotter? Will it assume even greater importance in industry? Or are we at the peak of it?
Oh, I don't think we're at the peak of it at all. I think it will continue to drive a lot of decision making. I think what will happen is that it will, and I think this is important for our prospective students to hear, whether they come to I hope they come to Simon, but be sort of informed customers of education. It's very important that they do not get taken in by tools. Right now, when we started this analytic journey about a decade ago, perhaps more prominently in business education, all we heard about was big data, big data, big data. And a lot of times we would have companies come in to say, we hired this person or that person or this company to do some big data analysis for us. It turns out that two things: either the amount of data we were collecting was actually not big at all. So some of the tools that they wanted to use didn't really apply, or we didn't really need that big infrastructure and big data. A lot of the decision making that we were trying to kind of extract from the data could be done with the sort of the smaller sets. This is really important. Apart from the pieces that Mitch has mentioned, right? Apart from sort of the ethics, the security, the policy, and so on and so forth, as well as being sort of very thoughtful about how you use data, what are its shortcomings. So don't go to a program that is tool driven. Don't go to a program where you are given a set of business classes and then tacked on a bunch of data science classes that don't really gel and marry the two very well. And we're seeing that in businesses too, because they're hearing a lot of data analytics, they're hearing a lot of warehousing, data visualization, big data, machine learning. But I think the next phase is to be a lot more nuanced and a lot more strategic and a lot more careful about moving away from this black box model to really problem solving and doing things the right way and having the knowledge to be able to tweak things. You can get an algorithm off the shelf, but if you don't understand what the algorithm is doing or delivering, as your circumstances change, as the environment changes, you need to adapt. And if this is a black box to you, you're not going to know how to use it. What do? You drop that and you get another algorithm. Instead, bringing really that knowledge from the analyst all the way to the managerial level, how to be very clever and strategic about information and data, and right collection, right analysis, the right kind of inference. Mitch and I sit in a lot of committee meetings. We sit in a lot of sort of, third-party presentations where we're scratching our heads going, that's not how I would do a survey. That's not how I would interpret that result, because we're trained to understand the biases built in. We're trained to understand how to make those inference. And that's going to be the next phase, to be much more informed and strategic and efficient about this, not just the warehouse or the sausage factory model.
Love that. Well said. And it tells me how pragmatic your approach is to business analytics and how useful it will be to managers who study it at the school. Thank you. All right, so there you have it. I want to thank Rebecca Lewin, the Assistant Dean of Admissions, Mitchell Lovett, the Senior Associate Dean of Education and Innovation, and of course, Sevin Yeltekin, the Dean of the Simon Business School. Great to see you all again. Really, congratulations on the launch of a program that I know will be successful.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful to be here, and we welcome any questions. Reach out to us, and we're happy to answer any questions about the program and as well as about the application and admission process and the curriculum. So thank you for being with us tonight.
Fantastic. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for joining us.